Good everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic around integration. That's external service. I believe that if you're an integration consultant or an architect, you should understand what external services is all about and its functionality, right? So that's pretty much what we're going to do today. It's not a theory session, so don't worry about it. We're going to do a bit of theory, then we're going to do hands-on, right? So before I continue talking about this topic, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys who reached out to me and say, hey guy, your content is great. So I really appreciate your feedback, guys. Thank you so much for that. If you have any kind of suggestion, to please do let me know. I'm always open for feedback so that I can improve my content. So my main intention is to put the best content out so that I can help you guys, right? Because I'm very passionate about Salesforce, and Salesforce means a lot to me, and I just wanted to make sure that I can help as many people I can out there, right? Okay. So that being said, let's dive in. Okay, so why do we need an external service, right? What is external services all about? So when you talk about integration, right? So let me draw this Salesforce here. So let me draw an external system. Integration always involves Salesforce with external system, right? So or Salesforce or among Salesforce as well, Salesforce to Salesforce, right? So which we talked about in a previous episode using Salesforce Connect. So this is an external system. This is Salesforce, right? So when you talk about an integration, so integration involves passing data from Salesforce to external system or other way around, right? So let's say in this case, external system has their own built-in APIs, which Salesforce can use to consume the data and do whatever stuff. Okay, so let's say it got an API here. So I'll just put a separate box here just to say API layer. Could be any API, right? So just for now, just for sake of simplicity, let's say it's a REST API, right? Which returns a JSON, right? So it's a JSON, right? So now, uh, so we are not talking about a SOAP here, okay? So just to make it clear, so it's a JSON, it's a REST-based API which returns a result in the form of JSON, right? Okay, so now, so this API, if you wanted to consume in Salesforce, you have two options, right? You can um, use Salesforce Connect, right, to do that, or you can use the Salesforce Connect. You can do if you do not want the data to be replicated in the Salesforce. Okay, so in that case, we can use Salesforce Connect. Now, a very simple integration scenario: you brought in a developer, you ask the developer to say, "Hey, I got this API layer, right, and let's the Salesforce consume this API layer." Right, to get the data in. Okay, so that's using a code, right, and which is a bit of interesting, but at the same time, it involves a lot of code maintenance related aspect as well, right? Think about a scenario when a developer is on a holiday, right, and if you're an admin who never programmed before in Apex, then you might struggle, right, when there is a production issue or something. Okay, so think about a scenario where you can consume an API using flows or without using a code, right? So that will be cool, right? So as an admin, you can pretty much troubleshoot if there's an issue around it. So that's where external service comes in the picture. You can consume a third-party APIs without writing a piece of a code, right? You can do everything using point and click. That's the advantage of you having external services. It's a pretty nice feature. You can even write a unit test as well. So which we're not going to talk about it today anyway. So okay, so that's the very little bit nitty-gritty aspect of the theory. I hope that's clear for everyone. Now let's jump into Handson, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a free API which is available out there. This is a great site. So it's like a free API, top 15 APIs you can use for free, right? So since it's a demonstration, I would like to use one of these APIs, and I'll put the link in the description below so that you guys can play around with it. So I will gonna use the cat facts. It's a pretty basic API, so you can take this API. I've already tested this using Postman, so you can use other testing API testing tool as well. So I use Postman; it's my favorite tool. So I use this one, and I try to send it because I'm interested in the GET request. So you can see I got this data here. Okay. So we got the status here. We got this, all the JSON stuff, right? Source, ID, text. Okay. So what we're gonna do, right? We will build a flow, and we will try to get this data using external service and push this data to a chatter, right? So that's pretty much what we're gonna do. So I repeat what I'm going to do again. So we're going to build a flow, right? And we're going to use external service within a flow, and then get the data and then push it to a chatter of an account, okay? Chatter feed of an account. We will pick and choose a single account just for a demo purpose, right? Okay, so the first thing first, okay? So I've registered for an org. If you haven't done so, please do so, because you need to do hands-on, obviously, right? If you wanted to try out external service. So go to setup, right? The way to go to setup, go to the scarecrow icon and setup, in case if you're not at setup page. Now under quick find, type name credential. So you can type name. So you can go to named credentials. If you go here, now we got to create a name credential for it, because external service demands there should be a name credential. Okay, right. So click on new name credential. So we are after fax. So just put fax. And I'm after this URL, so I'm just going to put, I don't want to give the endpoint. The fax is an endpoint of an API, so I'll give only the URL before API. So this is great. Anonymous, no authentication, keep it all as such. You might have a scenario where you have to put authorization, right? If it's an OAuth, or if it's a username and password. So based on that, you need to configure this name credentials. In this scenario, we are using a free API, which involves no username and password. It's openly available. So in that case, we don't have to use any of this stuff, right? So like, that's why I said no authentication. So um, I'm not going to use anything. So, okay, just going to say yes. Okay, so that's great. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go to external service. So you can do this one. You can do external service. It's going to take a while. Okay, go to external service. Okay, now new external service. Okay, now hold right there. Before we go to external service, right, before we configure it, we need to get a Swagger API information, right? So that's where it's expecting. Now, so what I meant by Swagger API information is not this one, right? It's the API definition of this specific API. So where to get it is pretty straightforward. So what do you do? Just go to Swagger, okay? You go to this, open this page, Swagger Tools and Designer, swagger.io, right? And go to tools. It's always good to sign in, because it's without signing in you can't pretty much generate it. So it's good to sign. It's try for free. So I got a free account, so you can try that for free, right? You just try it for free, and after you try it for free, you just sign in, okay? And then you go to Swagger Inspector. So once you click on the Swagger Inspector, you see you go to Tools here, right, and go to Swagger Inspector, okay? And before you do that, I highly encourage you to try it, to register for it and sign it. Then you go to the Swagger Inspector. Okay, so I already have. So you get something like this when you go to Swagger Inspector, and then you copy paste your URL, right? This fax URL here. You copy paste this and send. When you do send, you get information under here, right? Pinned here. You see, I've already done that, so you can see. I can do that again for you guys if you want. So you see, this is your API. This is what you got. This is exactly what I showed you under Postman, right? So you can test your API using this Swagger Inspector as well. This is one of the free tools. This part is free. So if you wanted to, so you can see that I got this fax here. Okay, so I click here. Okay, so it will generate a history here. Just click here and go to this create API definition. Okay. Okay, so sorry for that. Before that. Make sure that you put this 2.0, okay, and then create this API definition. It creates, so it says go to Swagger Hub, okay. Now it will say Don't worry about the version, just default title. I can say fax API if you want the import open API. Okay, so you import it. Okay, so you get something like this. All right, that's fantastic, but you can't copy paste this, right? Because this is not in a JSON format. Okay, so you pretty much can't do it. So you can go to export here, right? And you can go to download API and JSON result. You can click on that. It will download a JSON file. You'll get something like this. Okay, so copy this file. Okay, copy this data. I mean, from this file. And let's go back to the external service, and you can say fax. Come on. Right? And you can say name credential. This is what I was talking about. It's mandatory name credential. That's the reason why I created the name credential. Fax, okay. And I put a description. This is seems like a cop's car. Okay, no worries. This is a fax. Right. So this is copy there, right? And host. So everything is there. So one thing you have to understand, right? One thing you might have an issue, right? When you download an API file, sorry, when you download the definition, right? You might see that you don't have a host, right? So you can add it by yourself. So you can just add host colon, and this is the link of your API before endpoint. So in my case, my endpoints are fax, right? So that's why I have, right? So this is my API URL, and this is my endpoint. So you have to copy your API URL under host and create create an field here called host, and everything should be lowercase. And then you can put it and put a comma after that. You can put it above the path if for whatever reason if you don't see it. Just to let you guys know, right? Okay, so click on next, and you can see that this is the API. So this is a get fax, and just get it done. All right, so we configure the external services, right? Pretty simple. As you can see that you don't have to write any piece of a code. Now let's jump into creating a flow, right? So it's gonna go flow. Okay, so what we do before we that, let's open an account. Okay. Oh, come on. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have done that. Because I wanted to open that in a separate tab. All right. Okay. Just gonna do flows. Oh, sorry, not accounts. In a new tab. Okay. So what I do, I'm gonna hard code an ID for publishing to Chatter. So what I'll do that I'll give this ID, and I will see the information. So what we are after, right? So we're gonna create a flow, and it's like a auto flow, self-triggered flow. It's auto launch flow, right? And we will be expected to see the text getting published to the chatter. So when the flow runs, right? So all of this text, right? This text and this text get published to chatter as a separate chatter feed. One chatter, second first feed, two, second feed, kind of stuff. Right, so I'll show you what I meant by that if it's confusing. So let's create a flow first, right? The first thing before we worry about the other aspect of it. So we create a new flow, right? And like I said, auto launch flow, because I'm not gonna trigger the flow by using any button or by a record change. I just wanted to demonstrate so we can debug on canvas here, and just to let you know that that's pretty much what we're gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna debug on canvas here, this option, when I finish completing this flow, and to show you how this works. Okay, so we're gonna drop the action. Since external services, right, they are part of an action. Okay, if you work with flows, you will know that when you create external services, it comes under action. So you can drag and drop here. Now go to category here, okay, and change the type. So you can see the external service here. So external service, and there's one. You might have, different, but just get fax. Okay, I'm just gonna say get fax, get fax. It's always a good practice to put a description. I mean, again, it's based on a business requirement, but if you ask my opinion, I would say that's good to put the description of meaningful, right? Not get facts, right? But just to let you know. Connect it here. All right. Now I wanted to publish this data to a chatter. Okay. Now think about it. This, when you launch this flow, right, it's gonna give you, multiple records, right? Because if you look at it, if you look at this area, right, the JSON, so you got one record, you got second record, you got three records. So it has to go in a loop, right? So that you get information from first record, pass that to chatter, you get the information from a second record, pass that to chatter, right? So it has to go in a loop. Okay. So what we do, take this loop here and say looping data. Okay. Collection variable. So what we're gonna do this. What I did, okay, so I picked up this output from this get fact. So it's storing an output from this. I'm passing it to here. Okay. So this is a external service action. So getting the data, passing to this loop. Okay. Now I wanted to pass this loop output, individual output, to a chatter. So take this action and put it here. Now just look for publish. Okay, sorry, just a chatter. Okay, just type chatter. So you say post to chatter, you keep it here, and say post to chatter. Okay, and just copy this one here. Okay, so message. Okay, what message you wanted to pass? So I'm gonna do this one, and we'll look at this text, right? So this text will be this boy here. Owning a cat can reduce the risk of it, whatever, right? And this one, most cats are lactose intolerant. This is like a facts about cats, right? So it's a funny API, but if you are a cat lover, then you might really love this API, right? So I mean, that's an interesting one, right? Cat makes more than 100 different sounds when dogs makes around 10. I really didn't know about that, to be honest. While cat primates, they usually okay. I'm not a cat person, so my apologies. I don't have much information on cats, so if you are after cats, so play around with this API. So sorry, I digress. Okay, so this is the information, right? The text, different text get published. So that's exactly what we put here. Now the target name and ID. So it's a very simple demo. So we're going to hard code the ID for now. So I wanted to publish to the specific account. So based on a business requirement, you can make a complex flow where you can get the accounts and pass the ID and individual ID and do the job, right? So, okay, so if that's what you're after, so I'm going to put this and I'm going to do done. Okay, hang on a second. What is the error? Okay. No, what the heck? Okay, sorry, that's great. There's no error. And okay, I'm gonna pass it back. All right, so I'm gonna save it. You can say external service flow. Yeah, sounds pretty good, right? Put the description below. It's like I said, it's a good practice to put the description, right? I'm guilty of it as well. At times I forget to do that, but it's not a good practice to because someone else looking at your flow, right, will understand. Oh, okay, this flow is about this, right? It always helps, right? Okay, now let's look at this chatter here. Okay, you can see that. Let me refresh this. Okay, let's look at the chatter. You can see we got pretty much no feed. Okay, so what we do, we run this debug on canvas. So it doesn't matter. It's if it's successful, if it fails, so it's completed. Okay, so you can see there's a debug logs here, so you can see that we are getting an information using external service, right? And you see that we're getting output 200, which is successful, and we're getting all this cats information, and we're going to pass it to this, see, post to chatter, right? Post to chatter again, Post the chatter again. Okay, so let's look at this one again, refresh it. And chatter. All right, owning a cat can reduce the risk of stroke, okay? Now, this is a separate text, this is a separate test, this is a separate test, okay, there's no duplication. So we got four records, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records, okay? So 5 records, 5 texts, so that's exactly what we're after. So 5 different chatter feeds, okay? So as you can see, external services are pretty straightforward. I don't have to write a single piece of a code, right? Single line of a code. And I could do an integration piece, right? How cool is that, right? So you don't have to hire a developer. In case if you can't afford to have a developer, an admin can do this job very easily, okay? So that's all I wanted to talk about today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. But that being said, one thing I just wanted to mention, it's a good practice to write a unit test case for external service because then it will catch as a bug in the if there's an issue with the flow, right? Okay. So that being said, you guys have a great evening. Take care. Bye bye.